bnhphotovideo.com, the one-stop shop for all your photography and videography needs and the home of outstanding customer service. Click the link in the description to check out my list of recommended products. Well, what's up, Internet? JD Nitro here, and I'm wearing my glasses in this video because I think it makes me look a little more nerdy, which is kind of appropriate for this product. This is the Netgear Nighthawk X8 wireless router. It's a biggin'. Let's get it. Oh yeah, Netgear Nighthawk X8 AC 5300 Smart Wi-Fi Router. That is a mouthful. Tri-band quad stream Wi-Fi, the next wave in Wi-Fi. There should be a few exclamation points. One here, maybe one right there. But there's not. There's a total lack of exclamation points on this box. Round on the back. And this is a heavy box, by the way. This thing's got some weight to it. So we got some useful information on the back. There's a powerful 1.4 gigahertz dual-core processor. The industry's first active antennas. Okay, so 4 external active antennas combined with 4 internal antennas boost Nighthawk X8 range. Okay. It has 2 gigabit per second wired connections, aggregated 2 of the 6 gigabit Ethernet ports for faster file transfer. Okay, I'm not sure, but that sounds like something you need a NAS server in order to take full advantage of. Around on this side, some general information about the features, parental controls, and whatnot. On this side, we've got some numbers for all the tech heads, if I can get it in the frame here. It's a big box. Okay, so AC 5300 Wi-Fi. Band 1 is 1000 megabits per second at 2.4 gigahertz. Band 2 is 2166 megabits per second at 5 gigahertz. Band 3 is 2166 megabits per second at 5 gigahertz. Okay, so there are 3 bands, obviously. And a few more numbers. It's got USB 3.0 and 2.0 on-off switch and such. So, enough about the box. Let's get into it. And now for a jump cut. Alright, so we have a instruction manual, maybe. What do we have here? Yep. Some instructions, warranty information, a quick start guide. Super, we'll go over all that later. We have the standard yellow Ethernet cord, or cable I should say, and the power cord, which has one hallelujah of a power brick. Yeah, the next wave in Wi-Fi. Apparently the next wave in Wi-Fi needs a good size power brick. That's a good size. And of course we have the Nighthawk X8 itself. Also a good size router. It's bigger than I thought it was going to be. And they've got that taped. Cue the music. There we go. Now that we've got the antennas free, they are fully directional. You move them around, get them pointed in the way you need them pointed. Okay, and we've got a Wi-Fi button, WPS button, an LED button. So 3 buttons right there. There are the USB ports. We have USB 2.0 and USB 3.0. On the back, We have the place for the internet, the two aggregated ports, and we have 4 more ports right there, a physical on-off switch, that's nice, a little hidden reset button if you need to do a hard reset, and of course the power port. Now let's take a look at the Nighthawk X8's user interface. As you can see, we have the Netgear Genie UI, which if you've bought a Netgear router within the last 10 years, you're probably familiar with this UI. It hasn't changed a whole lot, which is not a bad thing considering that it's straightforward and easy to use. Right off the bat, we have 6 options: internet, wireless, attached devices, parental controls, ready share, and guest network. Under internet, this is where you would go to change your internet IP address, your DNS address, or you could use the default settings and it'll get that information from your internet service provider. Under wireless, you go here to set up your wireless network name and password, and because this is a tri-band router, we have 3 bands, one 2.4 gigahertz band and 2 5 gigahertz bands. The one setting that you should enable under wireless is Smart Connect. This feature allows your router to prioritize your 5 gigahertz traffic across the 2 bands. For example, if you had 2 laptops connecting in a multiplayer match and someone wanted to start a Skype conversation, that Skype conversation would be moved over to the second 5 gigahertz band, optimizing bandwidth and preventing lag for both parties. Under attached devices, we can see all of the devices that are currently connected to the router, and it specifies which ones are wired and which ones are wireless. It also specifies which band the wireless device is using. Guest network is just that, a separate wireless network for your guest. I would recommend enabling this if you tend to have a lot of people over at your house and you don't necessarily want them accessing your printer or network attached storage device. Speaking of network attached storage devices, we have the Ready Share option. This allows you to plug in a thumb drive or a hard drive and host files on your local network. And finally, we have parental controls. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the purpose of parental controls. However, for some reason, Netgear won't let you configure the parental controls from this screen. If you click parental controls, a separate window opens, and you're prompted to download the Netgear Genie desktop application. It's also available for Android and iOS devices. This is the Netgear Genie desktop application. Now, besides configuring parental controls, everything else that you can do from the browser UI can be done in this Genie app. The question I have is, why do you need this to configure the parental controls, considering that the parental controls exist in the router? You're literally telling the router to block specific content, specific websites. So why do you need a separate desktop application? In my opinion, this is completely unnecessary. So what are my thoughts on the Netgear Nighthawk X8 wireless router? It's good. It's really, really good. Let's start with the pros. Pro number 1, wireless signal range. Now, I have a 2,100 square foot house, single story, and using this router, I was able to get a strong wireless signal in every room of the house. I can go all the way out into the backyard, all the way out into the middle of the street, and still have a strong connection. I was impressed by that. Pro number 2, it can keep up under stress. With the help of some friends, I had 4 laptops streaming HD video from Netflix and YouTube, 2 tablets that were just casually surfing the internet while I was playing Forza Motorsport 5 on my Xbox One, and I didn't get any lag or any slowdown in my multiplayer race. So Pretty impressed by that. Pro number 3, this router supports the wireless AC standard, which is awesome. Even if you don't currently have AC compliant devices, you will have some in the near future. So it's nice to see that this router is future proof to handle that. Pro number 4, aggregated ports. Now, this is really only helpful if you have a NAS server, but these two ports right here can work in tandem to increase your data transfer speed from your NAS server to other devices on your network. This is a pro, but full disclosure, I was unable to test this feature because I don't have a NAS server at the moment, so it's a nice feature, but I was not able to test it. Pro number 5, USB hosting. This router has 2 USB ports. You can plug in an external hard drive or a thumb drive and host files on your local network. This is quite nice. I was able to get a write speed of 8 to 9 megabytes per second and a read speed of 45 to 50 megabytes per second. Not bad, but in spite of all the good with this router, there's quite a bit of bad. It's not all perfect. Let's start with con number 1, the USB hosting. Behind the door, we have 2 USB ports, USB 2.0 and USB 3.0. Now, there's a waste of space here by having a USB 2.0 port. USB 3.0 is backwards compatible to USB 2.0 devices. So why have a 2.0 port right there? Why not have 2 USB 3.0 ports? Or how about 1 USB 3.0 and 1 USB Type-C port? Now that would have been something to have, especially at this price point. Remember, this is a $400 router. This is supposed to be the top of the line, the best of the best that Netgear makes, and it doesn't have USB Type-C. That is a huge con in my opinion. Now you can make the argument, well, USB Type-C is too new. I mean, we don't really see it being integrated into too many things right now. Fair enough. However, there is something to be said for future-proofing your device. USB Type-C is going to become the standard in USB. Why not get on the bandwagon and put Type-C in this router? But no. Instead, we have USB 3.0 and USB 2.0. Yeah. A waste of space there, Netgear. Con number 2, ghost in the machine or a glitch in the firmware. While I was testing this router, 2 really strange anomalies occurred, and they only occurred once, and I haven't been able to make them reoccur since. Anomaly number 1, no Wi-Fi. I came home from work to discover that there was no Wi-Fi. None of the wireless devices in the house could get to the internet, so I looked at the router, and sure enough, the activity lights for the wireless bands were off. The LEDs on the top of each antenna were off. Now, I thought, okay, no big deal, someone was messing with the router. There's a button here in the front that you can press to turn the Wi-Fi on or off. So I pressed the button. Nothing happened. Pressed it again. Nothing happened. I pressed it and held it down for a few seconds. Nothing happened. So I unplugged the router, waited about 10 minutes, and then plugged it back in. Still nothing. Pressed the Wi-Fi button. Still nothing. So I'm standing in front of the router, absolutely befuddled. After about 30 minutes of finagling with it, what I ended up having to do was log into the router, reboot the router, and after the reboot was finished, press the Wi-Fi button. Lights came on, Wi-Fi was back on. Very strange. So I thought, is there something wrong with the button? What's going on here? So I pressed the Wi-Fi button again, turning it off. I waited about a minute, pressed it again, it came back on. I haven't been able to make that anomaly occur again. It's just weird, and yes, the firmware is up to date and was up to date when that happened. Strange anomaly number 2, network crashing. One day I was streaming HD movies from a hard drive that's connected via USB to my laptop, and all of a sudden all of my 2.4 gigahertz devices lost their connection. I believe I had 4 connected at the time. They lost their connection, and for about 2 minutes the 2.4 gigahertz band wasn't functional. There was no Wi-Fi being provided on the 2.4 gigahertz band. After 2 minutes, the signal came back, everything was fine. This happened once and hadn't happened again, so I was absolutely perplexed by this. I connected more devices to the 2.4 gigahertz band and continued to stream HD movies from my hard drive to my laptop. After about 6 hours, nothing happened. The 2.4 gigahertz band continued to function. Everything was functioning normally. So there's something going on in the firmware. Maybe it's just mine, but I think it's something that Netgear needs to look at. We can't be having bands just dropping like that. So the bottom line for the Netgear Nighthawk X8 wireless router, it gets a solid 8 out of 10. Overall, it's a really good router, and the only issues that I've had are those 2 strange anomalies that haven't reoccurred. So, bottom line, 8 out of 10. I highly recommend it if you're looking for a tri-band router. But now I want to take a moment and answer the question, because I know some of you are going to ask, do you really need a tri-band router? And the answer is a firm maybe. Let's look at the whole purpose of having a second 5 gigahertz band to accommodate more devices on your network. So if your home network is made up of, say, 3 smartphones, couple of laptops, maybe a tablet, you honestly don't need a tri-band router. You're going to get plenty of performance out of a less expensive dual band router. However, if your home network is made up of, say, 5 smartphones, 4 laptops, 3 tablets, a Roku, an Apple TV, a game system that for some reason is connecting via Wi-Fi instead of an Ethernet cable, and on top of all this, on the weekends your friends come over and of course their devices come to play. If that's what your network looks like, then you would definitely get the benefit of having a second 5 gigahertz band. So, do you need a tri-band router? If you have a large home network, it's worth the investment. And that's going to do it for this prog review. I am JD Nitro. Liking, commenting, and subscribing is the official order for doing things. And as always, thanks for watching. I'm out.